You know how people always say, you'll just know when something's off? Yeah, well, apparently I was born with that sensor disabled. Either that or I was too busy being a loyal, slightly boring husband to notice that the woman I married had turned our marriage into her personal reality show, complete with a director, her best friend, a co-star, her new boyfriend, and a script that starred me as the tragic fool. It was a Thursday. I remember because the trash hadn't been picked up yet, and the house still smelled like leftover lasagna from the night before. I'd left work early because, get this, I was planning to surprise her with tickets to a weekend getaway. We hadn't done anything spontaneous in a while. I figured it was time to reboot the romance. Big mistake. I pulled into the driveway and noticed a car I didn't recognize parked a little too comfortably out front. My first thought? Amazon delivery guy with an expensive taste in sedans. My second thought? Her brother, maybe. He had just gotten a new ride. Turns out, I should have stuck with my third thought, the one I didn't want to admit even existed. I came in through the garage. Quiet. Didn't want to ruin the surprise. What I walked into, though, wasn't the soft gasp of a woman caught off guard by love. It was the cackle of betrayal. The living room was set up like a cheap film set. Ring light. iPhone on a tripod. My wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, was standing in front of the camera, rehearsing a breakup speech like she was auditioning for an award she already knew she'd win. Her best friend was directing. And the guy on the couch? Oh, just the new boyfriend. Some smug, discount Abercrombie model with arms too big for his IQ. He'll cry, then start begging, she said, laughing like this whole thing was some rom-com outtake. He'll say he can't live without me, probably promise to change. That got a giggle from her friend. Boyfriend smirked like he'd already won. Then he'll say he'll do anything, just don't leave. She even did this fake trembling voice like I was some weak little puppy trying to tug on her leg while she walked out the door with my dignity. They were so locked in, they didn't even hear me. I stood there for a full 30 seconds, just long enough to let the lava boil inside me without erupting. I wasn't crying. I wasn't begging. I was calculating. She talked. I listened. Then, when the scene was done, and she was basking in the praise of her sycophant entourage, I stepped forward, calm as a monk in a hurricane. She froze. I didn't yell. Didn't scream. I just reached into my jacket and pulled out an envelope. Thick one. Cream-colored. High quality, because if I'm getting screwed, we're doing it in style. And I slid it across the table. Here's your script rewrite, I said. She didn't open the envelope right away. She just stared at it like it was ticking. Honestly, it sort of was. A neat little package of legal-grade TNT. No countdown, no red wires, just clean paperwork with her name on it and mine pulling the pin. The boyfriend sat up straighter, suddenly realizing he wasn't just the plus one in some amateur TikTok breakup skit. Now he was a witness. Maybe even Exhibit B. Her best friend? She lowered the phone so fast I thought it might shatter. Funny, 10 seconds ago she was Spielberg. Now she looked like she wanted to crawl into the couch cushions and disappear. I was going to tell you, my wife finally said, her voice cracking with a dash of guilt, a sprinkle of panic, and not 1 ounce of shame. Oh, I know, I said, stepping back, folding my arms. You were rehearsing for it. Her eyes darted to her sidekicks, like they were going to throw her a lifeline. But they looked more like rats on a sinking ship. Apparently, betrayal gets a little less fun when the guy you're betraying doesn't play the part of the sobbing idiot. She opened the envelope. First page? Divorce papers. Grounds? Infidelity. Not that I needed to write it out, her boyfriend was right there, still shirtless, looking like a side character that got written into the wrong scene. Second page? Prenup details. You see, we had one. And it was ironclad. When we got married, she thought it was cute how serious I was about having a prenup. She said, "What, don't you trust me?" And I said, "I trust you now. I'm just smart enough to plan for the version of you that might show up later." Well, she showed up. And lucky for me, that version of her didn't read the fine print. Clause 9b, infidelity nullifies spousal claim to shared assets. Translation, you cheat, you lose. She kept reading. Her hands started to tremble. You already filed this? I nodded. Last week. But, oh, and by the way, I cut in, those flights you took with him to Miami? Paid for on our joint account. That's covered in the evidence packet. Now her mouth was hanging open like she'd forgotten how to use it. Funny, how fast the smirk disappears when the script gets flipped. Wait, the boyfriend said, finally finding the courage to talk. Are you recording this? I looked at him, really looked. He had that gym-built confidence, the kind that lifts dumbbells, but not responsibilities. Why? You want a copy for your reel? He shut up real quick. I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. No, I said. You meant to humiliate me. Big difference. Her eyes welled up, and for a second I thought she might finally understand what she'd done. But no, those tears. They weren't for me. They were for the life she thought she was trading up for that was now slipping through her manicured fingers. I grabbed the keys to my truck, turned to the door, and before walking out, gave her one final look. Oh, and next time you rehearse a breakup speech, make sure the guy you're breaking up with isn't standing behind the camera. The door clicked behind me, and just like that, I exited the scene. Fade to black. I drove. Not to anywhere in particular, just away. The road didn't care that my marriage just got canceled mid-season. It kept stretching out in front of me like a therapist with no opinions, just letting me vent with each mile. I cracked the window, let the air slap some sense into me, and turned up the radio loud enough to drown out the echo of her voice, rehearsing my heartbreak like it was stand-up material. About 20 minutes in, my phone buzzed. Her. Amazing how fast someone wants to talk after realizing their plan B was actually plan Z and sinking fast. I let it ring. Then I blocked her. That felt good. Like finishing a workout or deleting your ex from your Netflix account. A few seconds later, best friend calling. Blocked her too. Director's cut revoked. Then came the texts. Can we talk? You're being dramatic. Let's be adults about this. Adults? I handed her a notarized escape route and walked out without raising my voice. Meanwhile, she was filming my humiliation like it was content. If that's how adults act now, then I'll take immaturity with a side of self-respect. Thanks. By the time I hit the county line, I had blocked a dozen numbers. Hers. Her besties. Her boyfriends. Yeah, his number was in my phone, because before he was that guy, he was the guy from her gym who was just a friend. Even a couple mutuals who I figured were already halfway into her version of events. He overreacted, or it just happened. No, you don't accidentally rehearse betrayal in HD. Eventually, I pulled into a diner, the kind where the booths have cracks in the vinyl and the waitress calls you Han, whether you're 20 or 80. I slid into the back corner and ordered the kind of dinner that doesn't ask you how your day went. Eggs, bacon, and a coffee strong enough to slap sense into me twice. I checked my phone again. Silence. Finally. Then I saw a message from a number not saved in my contacts. Curiosity's a sucker punch, so I opened it. I'm sorry. I messed up. Please call me. No name, but I didn't need one. It was her. She must have borrowed a new number. Probably her boyfriend's burner. Guess loyalty isn't big in their crew. I stared at it for a second, then deleted it. You know, it's funny. People spend their whole lives worrying about endings, what they'll say, how they'll cry, whether they'll get closure. But sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. Just a clean break. Like a page torn out, not folded. The waitress came by with the check. You all right, Han? I nodded. Yeah, just cut a few people out of the script. She gave me a smile. Sometimes, that's the best rewrite there is. Damn right. I paid cash, left a good tip, and walked out into the night. Lighter. Quieter. Alone, but not lonely. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't pretending. The next morning, I woke up to sunshine and silence. No buzzing phone. No passive-aggressive texts about where I'd gone or how I was being cold. No coffee machine already brewing because she'd always beat me to it. Just stillness. And you know what? It felt like peace wearing sunglasses. I stretched, cracked my back, and stared at the ceiling of my brother's guest room. The same one I used to crash in during college breaks. Felt weird being back, like life hit rewind. Only this time, I wasn't broke and hopeful. I was solvent and twice as cynical. By noon, I checked my email. That's when it started. She'd sent a document. Not an apology. Not an explanation. A file. Initial settlement thoughts. Like we were splitting a business, not a decade-long life. Bullet points and bullet wounds. She wanted to amicably divide the remaining assets, like the marriage hadn't already been napalmed by her Hollywood breakup scene. There was even a line about respecting each other's dignity during this time. Bold of her, really. Woman rehearsed my public humiliation like it was opening night, and now wanted to respect dignity. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my lawyer, who by now is probably having more fun with this than he should. He called 10 minutes later, laughing. She thought you'd cry, he said. Instead, she's the one scrambling for Kleenex and control. That envelope worked, I said. He chuckled. It was the checkmate before the board even flipped. I hung up and spent the rest of the day packing. Not the desperate kind of packing, either, the kind where you're running away from pain. No, this was strategic evacuation. Everything I needed fit into 2 duffel bags and 1 banker's box. The rest? Let her keep it. Let her wrap herself in the throw pillows and the duvet she cheated under. Let the new guy learn how fast fun turns into liability. Later that evening, I got a text from a mutual friend. Hey man, I heard. I'm with you 100%. That was brutal. Word was spreading. Not because I posted about it. I didn't need to. She did all the promo herself. Turns out, when you stage your husband's emotional breakdown like it's a web series, people tend to tune in. And when he doesn't play his part, well, that's the twist ending. I went for a walk around the block. Fall leaves everywhere. Cool breeze. I hadn't felt this grounded in years. Strange how betrayal can rip you in half and still leave room to breathe deeper than before. When I got back to the house, I found something waiting in the mailbox. A letter. Handwritten. Her handwriting. I stood there a second, thumb resting on the flap. Thought about opening it. Thought about the words that would be inside, probably some blend of nostalgia, regret, and revisionist history. Instead, I walked over to the fire pit, lit a match, and let the envelope catch flame. You burn a letter like that, you don't get the words back. But you do get the last word. And sometimes, silence is the loudest damn thing you'll ever say. It was the first Saturday I woke up without her in my life, or rather, without the illusion of her in it. And let me tell you, the absence was deafening, in the best way. I didn't have to guess what version of her I'd be dealing with that day. I didn't have to pretend not to notice the sudden makeup routines before girls' night. I didn't have to wonder why she laughed harder at her phone than she ever did at my jokes. She was gone. The mask was off. And for once, I didn't feel like the fool, just the guy who finally stepped off stage mid-performance. Around noon, I stopped by my old place to grab the last few boxes. I didn't announce it. Just used the spare key, which she apparently hadn't thought to cancel. The house felt hollow, echoing with the ghost of fake affection. It didn't even smell like her anymore. Probably swapped out my cologne in the bathroom and replaced it with some guy's body spray named Victory or Riptide. You know, the kind of scent that comes with a 6-pack of bad decisions. I moved fast. Just grabbed my things and avoided the bedroom entirely. I didn't need to see where she'd staged our end like it was her personal soap opera. I had my closure. It came on letterhead. As I locked the door behind me, I saw a neighbor across the street, Mrs. Henson, the kind old lady who used to wave every morning when I left for work. She looked at me, then looked down like she'd seen something private. Yeah, word had spread, and I wasn't even mad about it. Let her explain to the neighborhood how she rehearsed a breakup speech in front of her side piece while the main character walked in mid-monologue. Let her spin that. Back at my brother's place, I sat down and made a list, not of regrets, but of things I'd been putting off while I was busy being a husband to someone who'd already clocked out. Learn guitar. Book the Colorado trip. Fix the Mustang in Dad's garage. Actually try therapy instead of just suggesting it to her. The last one hit a little harder than expected. You see, I wasn't perfect. Never claimed to be. I probably did get too comfortable. Probably didn't say you look beautiful as much as I should have. But here's the thing. I never rehearsed her heartbreak. Never lined up an audience for it. Never mocked it with punchlines and camera angles. I was all in. She was already out, with a script in one hand and a backup plan in the other. The next day, my lawyer called. She's asking if you'd consider mediation. I laughed. Tell her I already did. That's why she's got the papers. He paused. Also, she's asking if you'd be open to a conversation. Not legal, just personal. I didn't answer right away. I thought about it. Really, I did. But some doors don't need to be slammed shut. They just need to be walked past without ever looking back. So I said, tell her I'll pass. She already said everything she needed to while her friend filmed it. Click. That was the last conversation I had about her. No grand send-off. No tearful goodbye. Just a dial tone, a clean desk, and a man sitting in peace with a life that finally felt like his again. As I stood on the back porch that night, sipping a whiskey neat and watching the stars blink like they were in on the joke, I thought. She wanted me to cry. She wanted me to beg. She wanted a scene. Instead, she got a man who walked out mid-act, calm, quiet, and completely done. Curtain. You ever watch a liar tell their version of the story in real time? It's like watching a drunk man build a house out of spaghetti noodles, wobbly, inconsistent, and destined to collapse with a single breeze of truth. Apparently, my ex had been busy. Real busy. She didn't just rehearse the breakup. Oh no, she went on tour with it. Started telling friends, family, mutual acquaintances, and anyone with ears that I had left her out of nowhere. That I had given up on the marriage. That I must have been cheating. I heard all this from someone's cousin's coworker's dog groomer, because that's how gossip works in small circles. Like a game of telephone where dignity is the first casualty. One friend called and said, "Hey man, she's telling people you were emotionally unavailable." Oh, that's rich. Because I remember being so emotionally unavailable that I planned surprise getaways, bought her that espresso machine she wanted, and built her a home office during lockdown so she could work in peace while texting her boyfriend. Another said, she says she was unhappy for a long time. Unhappy? She said that while smiling on beaches I paid for and filming breakup speeches under a roof I still owned. If she was so unhappy, she should have just said the word instead of using another man as her translator. Here's the kicker. Apparently, she cried while telling people I blindsided her. Imagine that. The same woman who stood in my living room practicing how she'd break my heart with choreography and lighting, now claiming she was the one who got ambushed. Give her an Emmy, honestly. Best performance by someone with no soul. But the truth? The truth doesn't need an audience. It just sits there, patient, while the lies exhaust themselves. Because one by one, people started seeing the holes in her script. Mutual friends reached out. Dude, we didn't know it went down like that. She left that part out. Yeah, she left out the tripod, the camera, the part where I watched her plan my emotional collapse like a podcast episode. She left out the fact that I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't beg. I just handed her her own ending and walked out with mine. There's a calm power in that. In letting someone burn down the house while you quietly pack your things, call a lawyer, and build a better one elsewhere. No flames. Just freedom. Eventually, the noise died down. Because lies have a shelf life. And the people who mattered? They knew who I was. Knew the kind of man I'd been. Knew the kind of husband I tried to be. One of her friends even messaged me privately. Just 2 words. I'm sorry. And I believed her. Because even people who stood on her side during the show started realizing they'd bought tickets to a fraud. She wanted to narrate a story where I was the villain and she was the wounded swan. Instead, she exposed herself as the screenwriter of her own fall, and I walked away the man who didn't flinch when the curtain dropped. Let me tell you something people don't warn you about when you leave a cheating spouse. They don't stop making bad decisions after you go. They just start making them louder. After the silence, the smear campaign, and the embarrassing damage control attempts, she moved into what I call the look at me I'm fine phase. She started posting couple selfies with the guy she cheated with. Same guy who, just a few weeks ago, looked like a deer caught mid-pose on my couch. Now he's Mr. Instagram boyfriend, taking filtered photos of her drinking wine she never used to like, hashtagging it all like heartbreak can be healed by likes and stolen validation. Her captions were a mix of inspirational quotes and thinly veiled jabs. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away from someone who didn't see your worth. Oh, sweetie, I saw your worth. That's why I had to subtract it from my life. The best part? The people who commented, "You're glowing. Love looks good on you. He never deserved you anyway." Yeah, real supportive bunch. Give it a year. When the glow wears off and she starts directing his wardrobe and editing his opinions, let's see if they're still cheering. Meanwhile, I was learning how to exist again. Alone, but unburdened. I cooked badly. Burned toast twice. Accidentally bought decaf. I took long walks where I didn't have to answer texts asking where I was. I remembered how quiet could actually feel like company when it wasn't filled with suspicion. Starting over isn't glamorous. It's not romantic montages or rebound flings. It's buying a single grocery cart's worth of food and realizing you don't need almond milk anymore because she was the one who drank it. It's healing with no audience. And I wouldn't trade that piece for 1,000 fake smiles. 8 months after the envelope, she reached out. Via email. Because blocked numbers are beautiful things. Subject line, "Can we meet?" I read it. Didn't reply. She followed up a week later. "I just want closure." Funny. That's exactly what I gave her. It came in a manila folder and cost me 2 signatures and a postage stamp. But curiosity's a tricky bastard, and I eventually agreed to coffee. Neutral place. Daylight. Public setting. Full, "I don't trust you not to flip a table" precautions. She looked different. Not worse. Not better. Just different. Like someone trying to dress up the wreckage as reinvention. We small-talked for 5 minutes. She was trying to be casual, like the last memory I had of her wasn't her planning my emotional demolition with a grin and a lighting ring. Then she dropped the mask. "I didn't think you'd really leave," she said. That stopped me cold. "Then you never knew me at all." She started crying. Real tears, I think. Maybe not for me, though. Maybe for what she lost. Because cheaters don't always regret the betrayal. They regret the consequences. She said she missed me. That she made a mistake. That she thought the other guy would be exciting, but he wasn't a man. He was a distraction. And that I was home. I smiled. Not because it was sweet, but because I was so far past that door I could barely even see it anymore. "You don't miss me," I said. "You miss the version of me that forgave everything." "And that guy?" "He left with the keys. I paid for my coffee. Told her to take care." She didn't follow me out. Somewhere between the silence and the sanity, I remembered who I was. Before the betrayal. Before the ring. Before I was the guy trying to fix something someone else was actively breaking. I found my old journal. It had entries from before the marriage. Big dreams. Bold ideas. A version of me that wasn't tired from loving someone who'd already left emotionally. That guy had plans. He had fight in him. So I brought him back. I joined a local rugby league again. Got punched in the jaw during the first game. Didn't even care. Felt alive. I booked that Colorado trip. Solo hike. Just me, my boots, and a view that didn't lie. I played guitar badly. Real badly. But I sang anyway. And I didn't share a single photo. Not everything needs to be witnessed. Sometimes, the win is quiet. I stopped defining myself by who broke me. Started defining myself by how I rebuilt. Not bitter. Not vengeful. Just better. So here we are. You've made it this far, which means you either enjoy a good revenge arc or you've been through some mess of your own. Either way, thanks for sticking around. Here's the truth. Betrayal doesn't kill you. It just cracks the version of yourself that trusted blindly. And when you put those pieces back together, you're not weaker, you're sharper. Smarter. Less willing to ignore the things that don't feel right. She's out there somewhere, probably telling someone new that her ex was emotionally cold or didn't fight for her. That's fine. Let her. I don't need to defend myself in rooms I no longer walk into. As for me, I've got peace. I've got freedom. I've got my sense of humor and my damn dignity intact. And most importantly, I've got my balls. Still exactly where they belong. Insane.